What's going on, everybody? My name is DJ Mel.
This is DJ Honeycomb.
And you are listening to the sounds of First Podcasts, coming to you live or pre-recorded from the beautiful podcast studios here at Waterloo Records.
What's going on?
Not much. I played the Realist Company party the other day.
What?
It was, I have DJ'd a fair amount of corporate events, and, typically it's, they're all organized, right? But they're like, we want you to play dinner music. Just keep it. Dinner music. And then, we want you to play, and then the dance portion of the night, just play this and that. We don't want to hear this. We don't want to hear that. Keep it clean, just very, very in the middle, right?
Yeah.
You're dealing with these like big corporations or whatever, which is fine. I mean, I'm okay, being directed or whatever. But the other night was the realest party ever because, so they reached out to me. I'm not going to name the client or where I played, but it was everything was the communication was brief. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, can you do this party? I'm like, sure. Okay. Well, how much do you want? This amount. And I'm like, that's a little too much. How about this? I'm like, okay, let's do that. Mm-hmm. I show up, set up, everyone's there, and I tell the folks that run the venue, hey, do you know what the client is? Because I don't even know what they look like. I don't know if they're even here. Mm-hmm. Or, is the guy that I talked to, is he even around? They're like, yeah, let me grab him. So, the guy walks up with his coworker, and I'm like, hey, I'm Mel. And he was like, yeah, I'm so-and-so. And the other guy's like, I'm so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, cool, nice to meet you. All right, tell me what you don't want to hear. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Or what you want to hear. And he's like, dude, they both look at each other, then they look at me, and they're like, dude, it ain't going to be like that tonight. I'm like, going, what? Like, what?
Yeah, that's what
we just want you to play rap shit all night. I'm like, really? Clean versions? No, dude. Just keep it dirty. And I'm like, wow, dude. There's like 300 people at this party.
What was the average age there? 30 up, 40 up?
30 up. And
so no little kids were around.
There were no kids.
Okay.
And so I'm doing the first hour just playing all this hood shit, which is like I love.
For dinner?
You know what I mean? Yeah, dude. They're all eating barbecue and doing whatever they do, and it was cool, man. Oh my god! And then then it was time to present the employee awards. So there must have been like 6 different awards, 6 different departments, and so I had to turn the music off, and the 2 guys that I just mentioned that were telling me about the music, they presented the awards, and so. Each person they would walk up. I mean, I would play some walk-up music, and they would, they would receive their award, and they would grab the mic and they would speak, and it was just the realest shit ever. Each person was like, "I'm cussing." Okay, this is the episode where we're really cussing. Each person would go, "I don't give a fuck." You know what I mean? Like, I do my job, safety first. Y'all could kiss my ass. Like,
they're saying that?
Yeah, dude. I was just standing there like, wow. I mean, and everyone's like, yeah, everyone's cheering and dapping each other up. I was like, man, this is crazy.
That's funny.
Yeah, that and coupled with, and what made it even crazier was standing in 30-degree weather for 4 hours.
Ooh, your fingers.
Yeah, my hands are just, they're screwed. And I basically couldn't feel my fingers, so I didn't do a lot of manipulation of the turntables. I just had to hit the buttons.
Hit sync with your nose.
Hit the cue points with my nose. Like I could. What was wild after the event? So, anyways, it was a great event, and everyone there was really, 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 really cool. Yeah. And it was just really, really fun to play to a crowd that just wanted to hear just rap stuff. And I wasn't.
It's not common anymore.
No, it's not common, and I wasn't worried about offending anyone or upsetting anyone. Yep. They were just all about it.
Yep.
And and the last thing I'll say about the party, as soon as I got home and I was warm, my nose just remained like cold for hours. I don't know what it was. But anyways, I'm I'm over this cold weather. I don't know about you, but how was your weekend?
It was good. I got together with some friends and we just had a great conversation. And one of my friends, I don't know if you remember KLBJ doing this jamboree in Maui back in the day. And Vallejo was there and Reckless Kelly. And her mom was like, let's go. And so they went.
Where was this at?
In Maui, Hawaii.
Was it a
In the 90s, KLBJ.
So
I was like, what?
So this happened recently or in the past?
In the 90s.
Okay,
In the 90s, yeah.
okay.
So she was like 18.
So
So she went and her mom just left with her friend and she ended up going to some house party in Maui and that's where all the musicians were just kind of like doing the after show and she was just like giving a beer and she wasn't even 21. She just like, this was the greatest memory. My mom is nowhere to be found because her mom's like one of the Austinites that just kind of like to have fun all the time. And whether you have to look after children or not, you're just, you trust that people in the Austin community will look after each other. And I was like, wow, I don't really remember radio stations doing that.
I don't remember that.
So I need to do a deep dive, or maybe our guest today can confirm or deny.
Yeah, which is a perfect segue to our guest for this episode, the one and only Andy Langer.
Woohoo!
Hello there.
Legendary writer, radio personality, and more.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on both of your banter here.
Let's go.
Which one do you want me to approach first?
Let's talk about the
party or the
trip? About the KLBJ Maui Wowie party.
Was that a for real thing?
Sure. And what they would do is some not real estate, travel agent.
Oh.
Travel agents were a thing. Travel agents would buy time.
Yeah.
Then they would pack these trips out with listeners who were buying vacation packages because they were KLBJ listeners, and your Dudley and Bobs would hammer that stuff every morning.
Yeah.
They'd get to go on the trip for free, Dudley, Bob, whoever.
Right.
And then they'd sell these packages, these travel packages, and then they'd bring an Austin band or two because it was Austin goes to Maui, and then it would be Austin goes to Ireland, and Austin goes to wherever. And so that was a thing that was popular
was that
for
just
a while.
In the 90s? Not
Probably
the
reached into the mid 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So your friend's story checks out.
Okay.
I guess is my point.
I was like, are you a little drunk? What's going on here?
You reminded me that another radio story here.
Yeah.
There was a moment at 101X where there was a program director who was only there very briefly, brought in from out of town, and I had yet to meet him. And I did Sunday nights at the time, a show called The Next Big Thing, and it was every Sunday night. Did it for 15 years or so. And he, at some point, said, like, I'll just come by the studio Sunday night and meet you there. And so he comes by, and in those days, I would bring, what are essentially the equivalent to your DJ crates. I would bring, boxes and boxes and boxes, sometimes with a dolly, loading them in, all of these CDs, because I was picking everything live as it happened. And that's how it, that's how those shows worked. And I don't know why, but somehow I had both the edited and unedited version of this record from the Eels. And they had a song at that moment called Mother Trucker.
Yeah.
Oh.
And It's a Mother Trucker was the chorus. And he must say It's a Mother Trucker 75 times on the clean version.
Right.
The regular version is quite obviously It's a Motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I think because this guy was in the studio with me and I was meeting him and distracted, I grabbed the wrong CD. Oof. And so for the next 3.5 minutes, and I had lowered the volume because I was having a conversation across the control room with this guy.
Yeah.
And about 3 minutes into the 3.5 minutes, I tuned out of the conversation just long enough to hear Motherfucker 6 or 7 times, jam on the thing, I mean, clear, blatant FCC violation for over 3 minutes. I'm not looking at the lines that are all lit up with people telling me that I obviously played the wrong song. And to his credit, he just said, this is my fault. I shouldn't have been here to distract you. And nothing happened.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, yeah.
But you worry about, or I used to worry about FCC violations all the time, because the deal with the FCC violation is it only takes one person to be offended and make the phone call. And if they drop a dime, investigation open. If nobody says anything, it never happened. And it's also why when it happens, you don't immediately apologize. You don't immediately draw any attention to the fact that it just happened, because you don't want to give somebody who didn't actually hear it happen the ability to say, oh, they did this thing, and then drop a dime with the FCC.
Yeah.
So that was a thing.
Yeah.
What a magical time.
Stressful.
What a magical time. FCC.
Are they even still around?
They
I believe
are.
they are,
I mean,
right?
I feel like
the
life and times of now are very different.
I mean,
What people think is offensive.
I think the reach goes beyond radio. It's like television and
Well, yeah.
among other things, right?
Well, and there's not much to police on Christian radio, and basically the whole dial is just filled with Christian radio now, because the Christian radio groups have bought all of the frequencies that come up for sale, because everyone knows they're not going to make any money in radio anymore. But if you can control the dial and fill it with Christian radio, then every time somebody gets in a rental car, every time somebody says, oh, I wonder what's on the radio, they're going to hit one of those stations.
Yeah.
And that's sort of been the Christian radio takeover of the dial.
Wow.
Across the last however long, when stations have become, well, A, more affordable to buy, and B, less profitable, which is what made them more affordable to buy.
I knew it was like an AM personality to always hear the Christian radio.
Yeah,
stuff. Now it's
speaking-
FM.
Now it's FM. Too.
Yeah, speaking of AM, like that is wild that still exists.
I know. It's still an option. I'm like, what is on here?
As far as like AM and FM frequencies, does AM have a farther reach? Or is it I don't know. I'm thinking that, okay, well, you're on AM, and I'm thinking, okay, if someone has an AM radio station, then if in Austin, then maybe someone in Little Rock, Arkansas can pick it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
as opposed to like FM, where like, okay, I could barely maybe on a clear night pick up a radio station in Houston. I that's what I do remember. Like on a clear night, oh, I'm gonna listen to this DJ Mix Records, from Houston. So
well, now there's HD2 stations too, which is a completely different thing. So KGSR is left now as an HD2 station. So each of the frequencies, so let's say it's 93.7, right? They have split them so that there's 93.7 FM, then there's two different HD2s that are associated with that particular frequency. And if you're in your car and your car has, any modern car has HD2 capabilities, but most people don't know they exist. And so you just toggle to HD2, and they can do a completely different style of programming on those extra stations.
Wow.
And so at Waterloo Media, separate than the Waterloo records that we're speaking out of, at Waterloo Media, they use one of the HD2 stations for something called No Control Radio, where Chuck, who's the building engineer and a enormous, super fan and super knowledgeable person of all things thrash, metal, hardcore,
Nice.
A lot of death metal. So he has a station that's nothing but that. So my wife, maybe, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years ago, goes to get an MRI. She had a knee injury, and they leave you in those machines for a long time.
No.
And those machines grind, and those machines are loud,
Yeah.
and you got to stay completely still. And so right before she goes into the machine, and she had never had them offer her this, but I guess because it was her knee, they were able to give her headphones. And they said, these are radio headphones. What do you want to listen to? And she just immediately was like, I don't know, my husband's on the radio on the afternoons. Like, I guess we'll listen to him. So she tells him to put on ACL radio.
Yeah.
And they do, or they put on the frequency. And if you asked her 6 months before or today what her least favorite kind of music is, what gives her a physical reaction, it's death metal and thrash and hardcore and whatnot. And as you can guess, they had punched that little HD2 button before they put it on her head.
Oh, okay.
And so for the next, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes, she had loud,
She can't move.
hardcore thrash and metal blasting into her ears to drown out the sound of the MRI machine, unable to move, unable to tell them, hey, you got the wrong thing here. And so, yeah, she endured that. And then I saw Chuck the next day, told him the story. He just threw up the metal sign and kept walking.
Dude, that's awesome.
God,
So,
your
yeah.
poor wife. I
know.
wonder her mental state. Was she like, it was so abstract that she ended up just being really calm? Or was she just on the tippity top of like the biggest mountain of just like anxiety?
Yeah.
I don't even know you
Yeah.
have already said your poor wife, which is what everyone says.
Well, in that context of being stuck.
No.
Yeah,
Stuck
just
like Chuck.
yeah, just I mean, being in a machine like that already is kind of like triggering, right? And just, you know, you can get PTSD from that. Now you couple that with metal, right? You know, death metal.
I like death metal. I mean, it's
Dude, I'm a fan.
it's almost kind of like sonar. I don't know how else
No,
to
I
describe
mean,
it. It's just
I
nice.
personally would not want that. I would not select that before I entered an MRI machine. I'd probably play you know, I would probably ask for Enya, like Enya radio.
Oh, no, that gives me anxiety.
I need something calming because I would freak out in that machine.
What's the heaviest thing you've played at a party?
Ooh.
Like, does Pantera's Walk ever come up? Like, what would be something that might pop up at a wedding that's like heavy?
That's a really good question, Andy. Man.
For me, it was The Last Straw by Metallica at a wedding. No.
Okay, that
But
Yeah.
I had to mix it with Selena's, actually, Rihanna's Umbrella. I had to mix.
like a direct mix.
Yeah, because the wife did not want to hear anything heavy. That she wanted Rihanna, and the husband was a metalhead. I'm like, this marriage is not going to last. And
I say, do we know if they're still married?
Yeah, they're still together, and they're happy
Wow.
as clams. I mean, I'm just like, what the
Wow.
hell? So I had to figure out the math on that and make it work. So, but yeah,
Dude, that's awesome. I mean,
Another question. I recognize this is not my show.
no,
Go for
dude,
it, go
please,
for
come
it.
on. Come
the
on.
energy needs to keep going around and around. Yeah.
So let's say you get to the, I mean, this is a modern phenomena, I guess. You're able to just play, if the bride says, I want Pantera's Walk, that's obviously not something you have that you've carried with you. Do you even carry things with you anymore?
No,
So take me through how that works.
Okay, well, I mean, I use a computer. So
Right.
the computer has a program installed called Serato DJ Pro. Is it DJ Pro or Pro DJ? DJ Pro. Anyways, basically the program is like if you were to, I don't know, for lack of a better example, like iTunes, like the library management is kind of like the same where you see all these songs, but I guess you could also still create playlists or on the left hand bar on iTunes. Can you still do that? I don't know if you could do
Yeah.
that anymore. Okay.
Well, and you can make playlists on Spotify, sure.
Yeah. So it's basically the same thing. And there's
So
all,
you would just find Pantera's Walk, move it over, and then does it show you the beats per minute? And that
yeah,
kind
it
of-
shows you all that.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I've played so many different types of events and, you know, just been DJing for a long time to where, you know, I just have all sorts of crazy stuff on my computer. So via the mixer, it enables, myself to manipulate MP3s like a record because the record's time coded. Okay. So, not a lot of heavy lifting. Like maybe, you know, when did I start using Serato? Like 2004 or 5, something like that. Where, yeah, I would have to lug, you know, 2, you know, big record
Dollies.
bags. Yeah, that held 100 records each, if not more. But I don't do that anymore, thank God. But I think I have scoliosis because of that. But aside, you know, I digress. But yeah, look, the computer, like, just music that I like personally, and then music that I know that I'm going to use when I play out is all on there. So whether it's Black Sabbath or the band Sleep or I have Enya. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff on that computer. So like, I'm well equipped, you know, for most gigs.
All right, another DJ question.
Sure.
So I got roped into over the holiday break watching the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which is a phenomena that I was aware of but had never participated in. Now I'm in. And
do you like it?
I do like it.
Okay, there you go.
Nice.
I like it way too much.
It's like eating like Sour Patch Sour Patch Kids for an hour
because
or
there's
something
6
like that.
seasons. And I was starting from scratch.
Okay.
So, but Saturday night, and I know this because the team I work with at UT, 2 of the 7 people in the room were already ticket holders for Meredith Marks, one of the Real Housewives.
That's right.
She DJ'd at Empire Saturday night.
What?
Yeah. she
So
did.
what is she doing?
Nothing.
I mean, that's what I'm asking.
No,
so,
who knows?
so
Who knows?
okay,
Who knows? Who knows?
your guess
Okay,
as to
we're
how
not.
that works.
Okay,
Who knows?
all right. Let me.
She is dancing a lot, so I am already suspecting not that much.
I'm not here to move the curtain so people can actually see what's going on. And I'm not naming names. I'm not naming places or whatever. But anyways, from my eyes, from a production standpoint, and working production for many, many big EDM acts and what have you. I'm not saying that they do this. Most of them do. But I will say this. It's either one or two things. The person from the Housewives. Okay. One, technology right now, the way things are now, I think DJ technology has made it very easy for a person, if you are somewhat musically inclined, to pick it up pretty quick because there's like beat sync or whatever, which automatically syncs the tracks to mix, right? So it's either she learned the bare minimum to do that because all you have to do, you just have to have a good sense of timing to mix it in. And the program or the gear, which you probably use CDJ 3000s and what have you. So they probably sync the tracks together, or she could have it could have all been pre-recorded.
Yeah, it's a pre-mix.
So it's probably somewhere, if we were
else.
talking about singing, it's probably somewhere between lip syncing and auto-tune.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got like a drummer playing to a click track or something like that, right?
Yeah. I just know that when a DJ is kind of dancing around, looking cute, and the transition's happening, I'm like, that to me seems like they're doing it on a different page of the book than I do it. If anything, I don't want to be seen. I want to make sure the transitions are as clean as possible. And that's kind of how I've done it. But you look like you are like playing Tetris. Like you're not like trying to, be a showstopper in between these transitions. So, but that's kind of what's going on in some of the DJ corners of the world is it's more of like just entertainment, and who knows how it's done with the mix,
Right.
whether someone else does it or where they do it at home or if they just plug and play.
It is an interesting, world.
It
I
is,
mean, I could sit here for hours and yell at the clouds and shit, but I'm not going to. But it's different, it's just technology. I mean, it just makes everything easier for anybody. So did you go to that show at Empire?
No.
I can see Andy just leaning up against the barricades, just jamming out.
Is there a photo somewhere of DJ Diesel and DJ Mel?
I actually wanted a photo of Shaq, when we had him at, at our stage at Lollapalooza. The dude is massive.
Yeah.
The one thing I remember, like,
And you are not you're not gifted with height.
everybody knows that.
I'm just setting it up for the
no,
listener.
I know.
that
Yeah.
they're saying
Yeah, I am a short guy, and I am very
discrepancy.
proud of it. I have no issues with it. But Shaq is a large human being. So, Rachel, lift up that your water bottle. So he was walking around with a water bottle, and it looked like he was like it looked like if I was holding like a lighter.
Oh yeah.
He's that big.
Yeah.
He was massive, and the one thing I do remember, he was wearing like house shoes or something like that.
Of course. He needs to be comfortable.
Yeah, I mean,
well,
he was. I remember Charles Attal. He was on the stage. I think he wanted to be up there, because it's Shaq, right? And Charles is a big basketball person. I just remember Charles standing next to him. I'm like, man, like he made Charles look like me standing next to Andy Langer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like
so 15 or so years ago at Bonnaroo, and I do these panels every year at Bonnaroo where we put random artists together. So just the other day, we were looking at these photos of a panel from one of the 2007 or 8 where it was Bob Weir with Britt Daniel and Wayne Coyne. So it's that kind of panel,
Yeah.
Wow.
So one year, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is at Bonnaroo.
Really?
He's promoting some kind of nonprofit that he was associated with.
Wow.
And so he was in sort of the community area. There's a lot of that at Bonnaroo. And we put Kareem on a panel. And it was amazing for me. I mean, hung out with Kareem.
Yeah.
And then at the end, Kareem says to me, do you know where the restroom is? And I said, all we got are these porta potties.
Is this before comfort stations?
This is way before comfort stations.
Okay.
And
Oh no.
and so Kareem just was okay. And I watch him walk off. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar literally folded himself in half, like at the waist.
Yeah.
Like he was doing yoga, and squeezed himself into this.
Jeez,
And I don't know how it worked once he was in there, but it
Yeah.
was amazing watching this guy,
Yeah.
shove himself into a tiny porta potty at that height, and yeah.
Some
Yeah.
hamstring power.
Yeah, salute to Lou Elcinder, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. No, seriously. I mean, I'm short. I have no problem being short. I like being short. And especially when I'm on a plane or in weird situations or in like small cars, I have no issue with it. But imagine being that tall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like things are just kind of a struggle, right? Finding clothes and
Sure. Yeah.
the one thing I know about like, dudes, athletes or just tall people, what's common are knee problems, like knee and back problems,
Yep.
you hear it time and time again. But yeah, I mean, God bless Shaq and, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like that's crazy. Kareem at Bonnaroo? That's wild. Yeah. And you're still there. I mean, like you were saying earlier, you're still at Bonnaroo.
Yeah, I mean, I've been every year since 2007. So
Okay.
whatever that math works out to. You're going to see math and memory are not my things, which is great for a show
Same.
that's ostensibly about firsts. But yeah, I mean, and I go and I always point this out, not in a, whatever way, but I have a hotel room. So right there, I'm in the 0.001%, that is a luxury item, hotel room in Manchester, Tennessee. And the reality is that, they take away that hotel room, I'm not stepping foot into Bonnaroo. There's just no way I could do what those people do. Now, that said, the difference between Bonnaroo and every other music festival, even the other camping festivals, is that the way those people live out there, and we're talking miles and miles of car camping, the way they're living, the dedication that they show to music across those 4 days, to live like that, you're a real music fan.
Sure.
And so the audiences are different at Bonnaroo, period. Full stop. And it's because these are people who are willing to sacrifice in the way that they are living out there in those campgrounds. And so when they're in front of music, they just react differently, period. And they're open to discovery in a way that, because they're there 24 hours a day, and because sometimes headliners aren't on till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Wow.
But it is a different atmosphere, period. And it's a fascinating place because of it.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I've definitely spent, a fair share, my, amount of time at Bonnaroo, and, for like at least maybe 5 years. All of it was enjoyable, but yeah, I mean, if you didn't have a hotel room, it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? And you got to salute, the fans and the folks that go to Bonnaroo, because once you're there, you're there. You're not leaving. It's not like, ACL or Lala where, I'm going to go check out a couple bands, and then I'm going to go walk back downtown and go get something to eat or whatever. You're there, and you're there for like 5 days, whatever it is. But just that, that, like you said, dedication, man, I don't know. It's a beast. Like I was saying to you before we started recording, even with the hotel room, at least for me in my head, it's tough. It's a stretch. It's kind of a grind. You know what I mean? So the level. What I wanted to say was the level of camping. I mean, it's very crazy. It's from setting up a pallet on the ground next to your car up to like folks that we're talking like tour buses.
But back in the day, they would there was not just an open air drug market, which is not a secret. I mean,
sure. Yeah, of course.
So, Shakedown Street was there.
Shakedown Street.
But what was really crazy is there'd be post offices. Like they would pop up their own post office. They would pop up strip clubs. Anything that happened in a real city was happening out there, because for 5 days a year, that's the third or fourth biggest city in Tennessee.
Yeah.
For just those couple of days.
Yeah.
And they really do, short of electing their own officials, run that campgrounds communally like a city.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I think the best activation, at least as far as I'm concerned, during my time at Bonnaroo, and I was fortunate enough to DJ at it, is when I think maybe it was LG. I don't know if you remember this. They set up a laundromat. Do you remember that?
See, there you go. Perfect illustration.
They set up a laundromat. It was like the smartest idea. So you weren't able. Okay, basically you would just they wouldn't let you just walk up to a washer and throw your stuff in there, and and then whatever. They would, I guess, if I remember correctly, they would make you put your clothes in a bag, and they would get your info, and then they would, wash it and dry it, and then put it back in the bag, and then, like maybe text you or whatever.
They did it. Okay.
But it was just wild. But it was the best idea because, I mean, you're gonna get dirty there. I mean.
Was this whole format kind of started by Woodstock? Like, when did the camping out to see a show really start happening?
Well, the granddaddies of those are Glastonbury and Reading in the UK.
Right.
And so Bonnaroo is the closest model to that style festival. I mean, Woodstock is you
was
know,
on
obviously
accident.
but a piece, yeah, exactly. But a piece of that early building blocks for what are now the modern day festivals.
Yeah.
But really the model for Bonnaroo, unlike the model for a Coachella or a Lollapalooza or whatever,
Okay.
was Reading and Glastonbury.
Mm.
Those now, I believe, happen every other year.
Okay.
So they're on a different schedule, mostly because I don't know that you can ask people to live like that every year, you know.
Oh, interesting.
And one of the things that was interesting about Bonnaroo for me was that when C3 ended up taking an interest in it and buying it, I was asking somebody about the demographics, and I always thought it's the same people, you know, until they can't. But that people, you know, I'd meet people that had been to 5, that had been to 10, that had gone the last 12 years, whatever. And it winds up that it truly is a rite of passage, and then people are done.
Oh.
So, which has been good ultimately for Bonnaroo because they've been able to change the direction and keep it modern, not have to rely on aging with the audience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Because for the most part, people come twice.
Okay.
You know, there are people that have obviously been 10 or 15 years,
Yeah.
but it's this rite of passage thing for people of a certain age. Maybe they graduate college and they're like, I'm going to go to Bonnaroo next summer. And then they check that off the list, maybe go again because they had such a good time, but they don't go 3 years in a row
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, it is. I mean, for me, you know, when I was involved, it was a grind. But the first time I ever went to Bonnaroo, I was like, oh my God, I was so excited. I mean, this was the first year that C3 was involved. So, and I was still at C3. So I was, you know, on basically a tour bus, you know, with all my colleagues, and it was just I was excited. It was a really, really, really good time.
Except here's the thing. These C3 people, they get tour buses because it's a practical way for them to live across those couple of days because the tour buses are parked next to the main stage. And the problem with that is these are people that don't tour. They're not used to being on tour buses. They're not tour bus people. And there's a way to live on a tour bus that musicians can tell you about.
Right.
But these aren't musicians.
Yeah.
And so those tour buses end up becoming, what's the word? They're just filthy, unlivable, sort of debaucherous. They're
So it's not the work trailer that you would find at C3 back in the day.
they'd be better off in hotel rooms.
ECL, I should say. Yeah.
Than on those buses.
Right. I will say this. I think that the first year we loaded up, you know, we all hopped onto a tour bus and headed from Nashville to Manchester. I think that maybe 2 or 3 people remained on the bus when we got there and stayed on the bus, and then everyone else got a hotel room.
Right.
And I think I was one of I did not stay on the bus, but I mean, you know, when you're there, you're there. You know what I mean? Whether you got to salute, like, you know, the fans and everyone that works the festival. I mean, the festival is a beast. I will say that. You know, you're out in the middle of nowhere. You know, there's not much there. The restaurants, there's not a lot of restaurants there. You know, the only thing I love and care about is that Walmart, and that's that's all you have there. And you're there for 4 or 5. You know,
How long was your duration there? And then how long was your duration?
Like a week. Like I think I was there for a week, maybe a little. You know, I mean,
That's a long time.
Well, I have a thing. I come in on
Right.
I come in on Thursday.
Yep.
And I land sometime before noon. My tradition is to listen to, I think it's Power 97 or whatever it is. It is the most commercial country station in Nashville.
Okay.
And once a year, for the hour and a half drive between the airport and Manchester, Tennessee, I listen to like hardcore mainstream country music.
Yeah.
And which I'm not going to hear when I'm on the site, obviously.
Yeah.
And which I, for whatever reason, don't tune in or listen to here. But it's always like my once a year check in on and then I get to the hotel, drop off my stuff, go to the Walmart, pick up a couple of random things, then shuttle over and stay till Sunday night, and then Monday morning I go back to Texas. But
I mean, aside from the grind and what, I mean, it's a great time. I mean, it really is. I mean, I've seen so many bands and experienced so many things there. Man, yeah. I mean, there was one year in particular, and I think this is when I bumped into Andy. That this one particular year where I was watching. I was watching some EDM act. I mean, and whatever, that's fine. But I was just like, okay, it was kind of sleepy. I was sitting there, standing there next to Bobby, and, my former coworker, and I'm just looking at him like, man, everyone's into it, but I'm not. I'm a big music person. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood to hear this type of music, and it was just. The guy was just standing there, maybe behind a computer or whatever, or like a keyboard. I'm like, there's not much. He wasn't doing much, but there was like a high level production, right? There's visuals and, whatever. And then I think this is when I bumped into Andy. Immediately after that, it was the polar opposite, and it was Tool.
Right.
And I was like, holy shit. You know what I mean? I'm like,
I'll spit out my water.
Just the level of musicianship. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like it was just like you could see that. You could watch some EDM artist that's like maybe playing dreamy EDM music, and it's kind of like maybe kind of halfway putting you to sleep, and then you could just walk over and then boom, Tool.
And he's not the only person going from that stage to that stage.
Yeah.
So that it's
wow.
it is largely genre free.
Yeah.
I mean, people are willing, so you'll one year I think it may have been my first year there.
Yeah.
Dierks Bentley had been booked to play one of the tents, and the festival was still sort of Fish headlined. It was very sort of but you'd have Radiohead too, but it was generally more of a hippie jam festival. And Dierks, who I've known forever, came to me before and was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm gonna be playing to an empty tent, and this is gonna be miserable, and why am I here, and blah blah blah. And then I go over there, and and he's got thousands of people that can't even fit in that tent. And an hour later, they went to see the Deftones or Tool or whoever. And then the next year, and this sucks, but I'm not going to name names. The next year, a major Texas country star at the time. Finds himself on the same stage at that same time. And he comes over to me before the set and says, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is going to be terrible. I'm going to play an empty tent, blah, blah, blah. I said, no. Dierks did the same thing last year. I said, I stood right in this spot and talked to Dierks last year. And everything worked out, and there was thousands of extra people, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I go over and try to, not only see if I'm right, but also, support my friend. And I go over there, and maybe 5 minutes before showtime, and there's 7 people in a tent that holds 6,000 to 10,000.
Wow.
And then showtime, there's about 17 people.
Oh man.
And I couldn't watch it. I was just like, I can't do this. And
it's hard to watch.
So every once in a while, Pacarina and I talk about that. And it was not a good day for Pat.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, so you just can't tell, I guess, is my other point.
You never know. And I think also that same particular year, it was Tool, and then it was the first time I'd ever seen Billy Strings perform live.
Well, and I'll tell you this, the Tool guys, because I'm sort of embedded with the Big Hassle folks, who are the publicists for the festival, and I'll I'll go with them on the photo pit runs because it's an easy way to see 3 songs from 5 feet away, only first 3 songs, and then, and then I go do something else.
Yeah.
So I'll often go to the photo pit, and I was in the photo pit for Billy Strings, and there were 2 dudes taking pictures that weren't part of the photography operation.
Right.
And it stands out when you're with the same people in those pits and so we all were like, what's going on? Who are these guys? They don't have any credentials. They just have artist passes. Who are they? And it winds up, it was 2 of the guys from Tool
Really?
were like super, super, super Billy Strings fans. And,
I could see that.
And, use their artist pass to stand a foot away in the photo pit, getting in the way of the working photographers.
Oh my gosh.
But it was also cool because,
Yeah.
the Tool guys are just so into music.
I know.
That
just
Billy Strings was a thing for them.
Yeah,
Nice.
just nerding out.
Yeah.
Just nerding out to Billy. I just remember standing there going, the level of musicianship that I'm witnessing. I was, and it was at Bonnaroo, so salute to Bonnaroo, you know, maybe one day, someday, maybe I'll DJ there again. Maybe not. We'll see. But anyways,
And he always did the silent disco.
that was the best.
And I would be able to go over
Yeah.
and have a full conversation at this level of volume with Mel because it was a silent disco.
It was a silent disco,
Yeah.
yes.
And so it was always so weird to walk over there, and I have my pass so I can go up behind him and and he'd be like, "Oh, hold on," and then we just talk.
Yeah, we talk, dude. It was like
all these people are losing their shit out there dancing.
yeah, you could hear shuffling and you could maybe hear people singing along here and there, but dude, it was like dead quiet.
Man, that whole thing, the silent disco is, I just think it's one of the most unnatural things to watch. I can't.
I thought it was weird. I thought it was weird the first time I did it, and
Yeah.
then after a while, I'm like, man, you know what? This is really. I mean, it's cool. It's cool. What's really cool is when you start playing familiar stuff and like just familiar songs that people know all the lyrics to, and then
They sing along.
yeah.
There you go.
Was it you that had that big Paradise City sing along one year? I saw a silent disco with a Paradise City sing along where I was amazed that these kids knew every
Like
word.
Gina?
It's shocking. Yeah. That's the thing about that festival. Like, they're just there to gobble music. They just love music, regardless of what it is. Maybe aside from Pat, maybe, but for the most part, I mean, maybe they're under the influence. I have no idea, but
Wait, there's drug use
oh yeah,
at Bonner?
you didn't know that? Come on, dog. Yeah.
Well, has the silent disco thing? It seems to have also changed because now they'll put 2 or 3 DJs up at
channel.
the same time.
Yeah,
And you're
different
picking-
channels.
and you're picking a channel, sort of like the HD2 thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we were talking about on the was it the last episode? It's like watching people when there's a club scene in a movie.
Oh yeah. So when I have a friend
know,
that's like an actor, and I asked him about that, and he's like, "There's actually no music. Everybody's just trying to dance.
They're
their
just
own
trying to
tempo."
imagine the beat or whatever,
Because they have
right?
to hear the actors talk through the mics
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
so
So,
that's
it's
pretty
like,
funny.
wow.
So, Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about this project that you're working with our beloved Waterloo Records?
Yes. So there's a doctor, Tyler Jurgensen, and he does palliative care, so end of life stuff. And he got himself a cart, like a library cart, got himself a cheap record player, some cheap vinyl, and he is taking this cart into the patient's rooms, and they're listening to Willie and George Jones and Bob Marley and you name it, and having sort of 45 minutes to an hour where they're not thinking about death, where they're probably interacting with this music that's meant something to them across their lives for the not the last time per se, but it's both a distraction
Yes.
which in that situation is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
It has obviously baked in nostalgia, and it's something that, the families and the patient can do together. It's a pretty simple concept. Roll in a record player for these folks in the hospital. And so Tyler reached out to the team that I'm working on at the School of Social Work over at the University of Texas. And we're associated with DelMed, with the medical school and whatnot, and asked if, there's a way we could sort of help him bump that up, maybe get 2 or 3 more carts so that, because there's been demand, because there's been interest.
Okay.
And, and he's a doctor. He's tending to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So in any event, we immediately were like, I think we could do something here. He also got a KUT story that turned into an NPR story.
Nice.
So it was real easy to call John Coons of Waterloo Records and say, hey, John, do you know anybody? There's got to be, distributors or the companies themselves that make record players that I could hit up to donate a couple of record players. And John immediately connected me with the CEO of Crosley. And
Nice.
and they immediately said, and I think when John sold it to Crosley, like, hey, Andy's interested in this, I think they thought I was going to ask for 200 record players. So when I called and said, I just need 3, they were like, really?
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Do you want one?
Yeah. And so it winds up, they've donated the record players that we need for the hospital. They're donating a fancier, more deluxe version, because we don't need fancy and deluxe in the hospital, because also you don't need big speakers, because you don't want, So in any event, they are donating a grand prize that will be a fancier Crosley. We're going to throw some vinyl in with that grand prize. And what we're asking is between February 16th and March 1st, people come to Waterloo Records. We've provided a list of 30 artists, the Beatles, the Eagles, Selena, whatever it is. This list of 30 artists that patients are most likely wanting to request.
Yeah.
And if you bring in vinyl from those 30 artists and donate that at the counter, or you could come here and obviously buy vinyl, donate that at the counter. We'll enter you'll get an immediate discount card for Waterloo Records, and you'll also get entered in based on the number of pieces of vinyl, so 1 entry into the sweepstakes
There you go.
per vinyl.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we're going to walk away with a bunch of vinyl for these carts.
Nice.
And, folks will obviously use this vinyl, love this vinyl, and have these experiences end of days in the hospital with this, with the vinyl that's being donated. Good way to get people into Waterloo Records, good way to make a difference with some extra vinyl that's probably stuff you have 2 or 3 of anyway, because anybody that, gets in a relationship, gets married, etc., there's going to be multiple copies of the same Beatles record, the same Bob Marley record, the same whatever. And so we're hoping people will come by and donate those. And, it'll be all over the social media. The list will be on the website at Waterloo. And that is the plan. It's a pretty straightforward thing. It's a pretty simple thing, but it leaves a big impact. It really will.
I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And my question to you is, how can one volunteer to help out with that? I would love to do that. I would love to just sit there and play music for someone. I mean, that's what I do already.
Right.
But
Different scenario.
different scenario and just a different setting, and just the meaning behind it, is completely different. And I'm all about that. So if they need someone to,
there are volunteers. I think they're hospital volunteers.
Oh, they're hospital
who are doing this,
right?
But what's interesting is the guy from Crosley. He was like, he really wanted several times to tell Tyler, like, I know you're a doctor, I know you're busy, but if we do this you're going to wind up being the national model for a million hospitals that are going to want to do this. And they're going to come to you looking for all the information. And Tyler's like, well, that would be a fantastic problem to have.
Yeah.
But also, thanks for the heads up, because, I think that's what's going to wind up happening is we're going to get a bunch of attention for what we're doing at this one hospital with this one wing. And then I think, it could potentially be the blueprint for more everywhere else.
Right.
And then there'll be volunteer opportunities for you.
Yeah, I would love to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, the program and what you're doing and playing music for folks in the hospital. The way that I think of it is like the highest level, you know what I mean? The highest level of service that you can do for someone when it comes to, delivering music. I DJ all the time and Rachel does too. We're playing, when we play, there's people that are drunk and then maybe it's just background noise for folks. But when it's just this one-on-one thing because that's basically what DJing is. You're just trying to, at least the way I look at it is to free people from concern for like a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
For them to forget their problems, just their daily lives. Okay, I'm going to dance. I'm going to let it all out for a couple hours and not think about things. And I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to move my body and just have fun.
Well, the two kind of viral videos that affect me, not to the point of tears, but sometimes are those reunion videos.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where the guy comes back from the military or the guy comes back from wherever.
Yeah.
Those, I don't know why. I don't have any personal situation or experience like that.
Yeah.
You're softy, bro.
But
Come on, man.
Those, and the ones where Jelly Roll visits some kid in the hospital, or Sabrina Carpenter visits some kid in the hospital, or whatever. Those always get me too, because they're having that moment. It's not as extreme as Make-A-Wish, although in some cases these are Make-A-Wish kind of situations.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, there's a thing that happens in those rooms. That's rooted in music, but also in celebrity and personality and whatnot.
Right.
And somebody's having this incredible moment they're going to remember.
Yeah.
Those always get me.
Yeah, I would love to be in one of those hospital rooms playing music and just kind of seeing visually how it affects them, right? And if they're monitored up, if they're like there's EKGs or whatever it may be, like how it affects their heart rate, and blood pressure when they're name the artist, right? How it affects them. I would love to just witness that because.
Well, I'm sure you've seen videos of people playing in old folks' homes, and some people who don't really get up start getting up and dancing because they remember that one hit from the 1930s or 40s or 50s, the prime. And so if it can physically, energetically make something that doesn't move, that's incredible.
Well, and there's obviously a ton of research on, music as a healing vehicle. And it's a lot of what we're doing over at the Moritz Center, which is part of the School of Social Work at UT, because of that med school connection. And because our Dean Alan Cole, has Parkinson's. And when he was diagnosed 9 years ago with Parkinson's, one of the things he did to sort of keep muscles moving, to keep his brain moving, etc., was he enrolled at the School of Rock. And he had no experience playing music. He's now got two bands. One's called the Dean's List.
Oh, nice.
Because he literally is in a band with 6 other deans. And I think there's only, 12 or 14 deans on the whole campus. 6 of them are in a band called the Dean's List. And then he's got a band with his daughter. But music, you talk to Alan Cole, and music has changed his life, staved off some of the Parkinson's symptoms that probably were headed his way.
Wow.
And, because of that, a lot of what we do on our team is involved with, either Austin nonprofits or national nonprofits, and grants and research and whatnot, trying to sort of, cement that relationship between music therapy and healing and whatnot. So
there definitely needs to be more music therapy, and this is a great way to start. It's very noble. So kudos to you. I mean, that's incredible.
The Dean's List, man.
Sounds like a doo-wop group.
It's either the Dean's List or the Deans. Like, what's up with the Deans? Or like the Dean's List, and then you're like, holy crap! There's a bunch of deans, actual deans, on stage. So switching gears here. So Andy, where did you grow up?
I grew up on Long Island.
Okay.
Merrick, Long Island.
Nice.
Notable for a woman I knew in high school, or actually in elementary school. And you might remember, of a certain age. She used to wear in the videos a sweatshirt that said Calhoun, which was my high school, and I was in homeroom with Debbie Gibson.
Oh wow, really?
When things were happening for Debbie. Yeah. And they happened when she was in high school.
Yep.
And so, I vividly remember her coming back. She'd do a lot of half days because she had a lot of stuff going on. She was a major pop star.
Yeah.
And I remember her coming back, sitting with us at lunch after spending the morning in the city. And Spin was writing about her. And Spin was, especially this would have been 87 or 88. Mm-hmm. Spin was, the counterculture version of Rolling Stone.
Yes.
It was much harder edged.
Yeah, yeah.
And she told us, I don't know what to make of the fact that this reporter this morning was insisting that Shake Your Love was about masturbation.
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah.
And a reporter had that conversation with a 16 or 17-year-old, and that seemed normal at the time.
Yeah.
And B, she had never thought, somebody's going to confuse Shake Your Love for a masturbatory anthem. I've never heard the song the same way since.
Yeah.
But
never in a million years would I would have thought about touching myself.
Like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, we know about that. But golly.
Shake Your Love, though, is pretty, yeah. So anyway, Debbie Gibson went to my high school. It was my first sort of obvious interaction with somebody who was living a very different life than the rest of us.
Sure.
She was huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and she also wrote and performed her thing, unlike the pop stars of that moment.
Yeah, which was what I was about to say.
Yeah.
There
was
like
a big
this
difference between her and Tiffany.
Yeah, there was kind of like this weird, like unsaid beef here. Like you were either team Debbie Gibson or team Tiffany. Debbie Gibson all day. All day. I don't care what anybody says. Debbie Gibson all day. But yeah, to be in close proximity to someone that famous, that when you're that young. I mean, I didn't know anyone like that when I was a kid. Like, I mean, can you imagine? Like,
it was an interesting, sort of early look at that kind of thing.
Right. So in Long Island, how, did you go to a local record store? Like, was that something that you did when you were that age?
I did at the mall. And it was there was actually. There was a record store in town that I would go to pretty regularly, but generally, and I remember, I had my own money from selling sports cards, but that's a completely that's a completely different conversation.
No, totally. I noticed that online that you talk about it.
Yeah,
wow.
But I had a lot of. Not a lot of money. I had a lot of money for a 14-year-old or whatever. I had disposable income, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah.
And but I also knew that my parents wouldn't want me spending that money Why can't I say it? Frivolously.
Frivolously.
Thank you. There
yeah,
it is.
I can really say it now. Okay.
You got it.
So I remember they would take me to the mall. They'd go off shopping. I'd go to the record store, and then I would like sort of find ways to hide cassettes. I'd buy them. I wasn't stealing them. To be clear,
Dude, if you were shopping, that would have been cool too. But anyways,
but I would buy 4 or 5 cassettes a week
Oh.
and sort of strap them on my belt line so that when I got back in the car, I wasn't holding shopping bags. It didn't look
There
like
you
I
go.
spent any
Yeah.
money. And so I built a collection sort of quietly behind their back. They must have known. They must have seen them, but they didn't see them when I'd get in the car each time, if that makes sense. And yeah, so I definitely, bought a lot of cassettes early on.
right.
Every chance I could get,
I mean,
which was once a week or so when they take us to the mall.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's so when you were going to the record store and buying them and then stashing them in your pants. So were your musical choices pretty much kind of like influenced from the radio and MTV, or were you like, okay, I'm gonna buy some of that, but look at all this other stuff no one's talking about, and
To some degree, it was radio and MTV, but it was also, I had that collector mentality, I think, from the sports cards thing.
yeah.
So I was trying to get the cassette single from the UK, the import version.
So you were that
of
kid. Yeah,
whatever,
dope. Yeah.
and it was a lot of Whitesnake, a lot of Bon Jovi, a lot of Great White, a lot of Aerosmith, but I was a completist in that regard. So the stuff, I was into mainstream stuff, don't get me wrong, but I was into the sort of harder, more obscure pieces to find within that mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, obviously there's no internet.
Sure.
There's no way to really know this stuff exists other than to read Kerrang and
Kerrang, yeah,
the magazines from the UK that all of the good local record stores also carried. And so the ads in Kerrang would hip you to the idea that, the European version of the Great White Album has a Mott the Hoople cover as a secret B-side or whatever. And that would be because again, no internet, we didn't know, so it was sort of catch as catch can, but I was really into that kind of stuff.
So yeah, it seemed like music. You even got the niche stuff, and it was interesting to you at such an early age.
But the niche version of the mainstream stuff.
Well, sure, but
Yeah.
isn't it all the same? Kind of like you're going an
guess.
extra effort to find something that it wouldn't be commonly found. But
Yeah, you were looking for just random B-sides
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yes.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
it'd be from Aerosmith or from
Yeah,
Blue.
totally.
fun.
it-
That's
yeah,
fun.
totally.
Yeah.
so that was going on through high school. So you were like, making extra money from cards, right?
Yes.
And then as soon as you were out of high school, did you go straight to college?
Yeah. So my father was an attorney for J.C. Penney's, and Penney's moved the entire operation, everything, from New York to Plano in '88.
That explains a lot right there.
So
Okay.
I wound up having to do my final 2 years of high school in Plano.
In Texas, yeah.
Yeah. And
There you
then, even then, the colleges I wanted to go to were, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 grand a year, which would have bankrupted my parents.
Yeah.
And the University of Texas, my fifth choice or whatever,
Yeah.
was like $75 a semester. I'm not even kidding.
No, it's been quite affordable.
And the books cost more than tuition.
Yeah.
I lived at Dobie my freshman year.
Wow.
Like a king.
Oh, I bet you did.
And it's because because even then my parents probably I'm guessing, spent $3,000 for that year at Dobie, something like that.
Jeez, yeah.
So, as opposed to the $30,000 if I had insisted unrealistically on going to American University in DC or Missouri or the places that I wanted to go for journalism school. And so ultimately UT won by being cheap. And UT was, just 3 hours down the road, et cetera. And so I got here in 1990 and never left.
1990.
So, the Dobie, did you ever go watch movies at the theater downstairs?
Yes.
Dude, I miss that.
Neck.
I miss that. I miss that theater so much. You don't even know. Like, I really miss that movie theater.
Yeah.
I saw Slacker there.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't watch Slacker there, but I remember I watched Blair Witch there.
I did too.
Which completely scarred me. And then they would have 70s era porno films.
They did?
That I don't remember.
Just kind of like, what did they call those films? I forgot what they were.
It wasn't like full on, like it was not
I
like,
know.
it was like
Word for it.
I don't know, it was like these kitschy
Stag films.
What's up?
They called them stag
It
films.
was like kitschy 70s movies and there was actually like sex in the movie.
Oh.
Like, and I was, yeah.
Dobie?
Yeah. Watching blaxploitation films, all that kind of stuff. I just loved it over there.
Well, there's also, I drive by that porn theater on Congress all the
Oh, yeah.
time. The one closer to
corner.
Sea Boys on the corner.
Yeah.
It was the METV, the music television, the 24-hour Austin music television station was based out of there for a while. But that was I believe, not a art house the way Dobie was, but actually a hardcore porn theater for a long time.
A long time?
Forever,
like,
right?
Yeah.
From when? To like 19-something to 19...
Did it? I think it shut down like in the mid to late 90s.
I was going to say mid to late 90s, yeah.
It's a 90s thing, yeah.
So when you were living at Dobie, I mean, you clearly were wandering around campus and maybe walking up and down the drag. I mean, did you go to Sound Exchange? Like, where did you?
I was at Sound Exchange a lot, and I mean, I have sort of an unusual college story in that respect because I wrote for the Daily Texan from day one, from before I'd even taken my first class. And that was one of the reasons that I went to UT was you didn't have to do a bunch of math and science prerequisites to begin writing for the paper. Because I would have never made it through those, and I would have been at some school for a good journalism school that I was never going to get into, or be able to participate in. And so, but by the end of my freshman year, I would say, I was writing for Entertainment Weekly, writing for AP and UPI, and was already sort of working, like literally working. And so I was probably out at that point 3 or 4 nights a week instead of what would evolve by 93 or 94 into 7 nights a week, 6 months at a time. And then I'd go, I've been out 7 nights a week till 2 a.m, 6 months at a time. And I'd say, I need to take some, and I'd take a day or 2 or 3 and then do another 6-month cycle like that. And so, couple of things about that time. Slacker was a movie, but it was also, the aesthetic. It was the ethos of this town. So all you had to do was express the slightest amount of interest in anything, and they'd let you do it because there was no line. There was nobody else who had raised their hand. And so I did that in the print journalism realm initially, then in radio, and all I had to do was say I was interested in doing it because, again, ambition wasn't a thing here. And so...
Dude, 1,000%.
And so I was not better than anyone. I was not as good as anyone. I was not a natural talent at anything, but I was willing to do it. And so, A, the time and place piece of that explains a lot. B, I think what's been really valuable over the years is 1990 to 94. You look at that period. I saw Old Austin, where the fajitas at the Hyatt were the only expensive meal you could buy, where there was the best meal in town, where you couldn't get the New York Times delivered to your door, where, everything was a 2-minute drive away, etc., where you could tell the traffic pattern. You could tell when university was in or out based on, traffic, because those cars made a difference. I saw Old Austin, but wasn't part of it. And New Austin, rolled in, 94, 95, 96, around the time the first Dellionaires are being minted. Now there's money. Now there's things being built to cater to those people with money, etc. But you're not part of that. And so there's a little window there where I believe I had a unique perspective on seeing Old Austin, but not being part of it, and watching the growth of New Austin, but not being so Old Austin or Old Austin at all that I took any kind of offense to it.
Sure.
Right.
And so that's sort of always colored the way I look at change in this town, because I happen to have been here during that little no man's land between Old Austin and New Austin.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Man, I mean, your career, I mean, it took off when you started school. Out the gate, it's.
Well, the thing I did at the Texan that was different was there was the Chronicle and the Statesman, obviously. And the Chronicle was only interested in a hypersensitive way to local music. And the Statesman, would cover road shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
Except there was a limited amount of road shows, obviously, because we were a tertiary market.
Yeah.
The good stuff was going, obviously, to Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, places that you could draw more people. And so, but, the Irwin Center existed,
Yeah.
etc. And I would call publicists, cold call them, say I'm at the Daily Texan and we've got 50,000 students on campus who are reading this newspaper every day. And they were, because it was a different era. And the audience you want for your show at the Irwin Center is certainly not reading the Statesman and doesn't care about the Chronicle.
Yeah.
And that was true. And so, you name it, from Public Enemy, Ice-T, Ice Cube, Metallica, those were bands that I interviewed for the Texan.
So
at the time.
Okay, so
because I asked, and it made sense. And the funny thing is that those publicists that were willing to take the call from the kid at the Daily Texan, the 19-year-old at the Daily Texan, or 18-year-old, they were only 2 or 3 years older than me, and they were the either interns or ninth in line publicists at the labels. Those people now, a lot of them that I used to deal with when I was at the Texan are not only major label presidents, but are, Grammy Lifetime Achievement, Industry Award winners, etc. Because they grew up too.
It's wild to see folks like that, and that's the thing, with when I worked at C3 for many years, just folks that were interns, right? Whether they were at C3 or they were working for for the number of talent agencies that are out there. Yeah, they were fetching coffee and whatever. And the next thing you know, they're like, oh, by the way, I'm managing Justice now, and and Empire of the Sun and stuff like that. I'm like, whoa, so, but I forgot what I was gonna say about. The Public Enemy show. Was it the Public Enemy show at the Back Room?
It was, and it was.
I went to that show as a kid.
I interviewed Chuck right after in the green room that was that's that separate building right behind, and I'll never forget. Flavor Flav comes running in, literally grabs my hand, pulls the microphone, my little tape recorder in front of his face, and does the "Hey boy" right into it.
Do you have it?
I do somewhere.
Oh my God, that'd be sick.
But yeah, but that was, if you remember, I mean, that's a famous back room run. There's 2 nights of Public Enemy, a night off, Ice Cube, and maybe the very next night, Ice-T. So and it was around January, like around January 1st to January 6th or something. All 3 of those tours just happened to coincide and literally consecutively play. And so it was 2 nights of Public Enemy, a night of Ice Cube, a night of Ice-T. And I got pulled over, and this was right at the height of Cop Killer. I got pulled over on my way to interview Ice-T.
Were you bumping body count in the car when you got pulled over?
So I was late, and it was the best excuse ever to explain to Ice-T that,
I'm sure you appreciated that.
Common enemy at that moment.
What little I do remember about that Public Enemy show at the back room was it was the most insane, chaotic thing ever. You had all these, mostly, UT students at the show just wiling out, and just the spectacle of PE, you know what I mean? Just Chuck D, Terminator X, Flavor Flav, the SW1s, the guys that, the military looking dudes, and just that bomb squad sound. Like I just remember going, it was just a lot to take in, for impressionable, ears.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a lot to take in. I'm sure it was like that for you. It was nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, this is at the height of their powers. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's crazy that you were there and you were able to interview. I would love to get a copy of that recording, that interview, and then have Flav grab that tape recorder for you and say that.
Yeah, there was. I mean, I was also, and I've talked about this a lot over the years. The big thing I did at the back room, the one I went to that. So Wilt Chamberlain famously scored 100 points in 1960, whatever, on apparently there was a snowstorm in Cincinnati, and it was the lowest attended NBA game of all time, and there was probably, I don't know, let's say 75 people in the arena, right? Because it was almost impossible to get to. He scores 100 points, and Wilt Chamberlain says that he's met over the years 30 or 40,000 people who swear they were at that 100-point game. Pearl Jam at the back room is exactly that Wilt Chamberlain situation. I can tell you a dozen names of people who were there, and there was only 40 of us. And so I know who was there.
So was it because of weather that
No,
it was,
no, it
because
was
no one knew them.
It was
all right.
Yeah, they were barely Pearl Jam. They had been Mookie Blaylock 6 weeks earlier or whatever.
Okay.
They did an in-store at Sound Exchange. So I went over to the Sound Exchange in-store because I had interviewed them for the Texan, and then went to the show. And that show, Eddie climbs. The back room was only a single story, so there wasn't much to climb, but there were exposed pipes running all through the ceiling, and he would sort of climb those pipes upside down, grabbing, each piece. It's terrible on a podcast. But yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So in any event, he at one point, his hair gets stuck in a sprinkler head.
Ooh,
and for the next 10 years, you could go to the back room and see a lock this big of his hair just sticking out of that sprinkler head because, cleaning wasn't something that happened a lot at the back room.
Especially up above.
Yeah, especially up above. But yeah, I was at that Pearl Jam show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Gosh. The
So-
90s were all grunge too. Like it was like a thing.
Like early on, they kind of had somewhat of a kind of revolving door of drummers, right?
Well, at the time, no, there was a drummer who.
There was a drummer from Dallas that was like,
Well, that's Dave Abruzzese. And and he was on 10.
10.
And I want to say he recorded on verses, but was already out of the band. I mean, by the time the tour came around, yeah. But yeah, they had Dave Abruzzese playing drums, who's very what's the word I'm looking for? Outspoken and high profile on Facebook. He's easy.
Oh,
to
is
find.
he?
Yeah. No, he's great. He's a good follow.
In a good way? Or,
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So
Very cool. So when you arrived to the University of Texas, for your first year, and then you were all settled in and you were kind of trying to figure out where everything was at, and that was all figured out. What was like the first concert or show that you went to? Can you remember that?
I know that I saw, for instance, I saw the very last Twang Twang Shaka Boom show. So Twang Twang Shaka Boom was David Garza's band that had played the West Mall. David was a student a year older than me, maybe two. But they famously started on the West Mall, sort of acoustic instruments, and went from, 10 of their friends on the West Mall every Thursday at noon or whatever to 600 of their fans to selling out 3 nights at the Cactus to then selling out 2 nights at Liberty Lunch. It was a whole thing. And they made all these cassettes that they would, sort of Daniel Johnston style release. And anyway, they played an in-store at Hastings on the Drag.
Wow.
That I went to. And they broke up the next day or whatever. So that might have been one of the first Austin shows that I went to. Meaning, an Austin artist. Definitely remember South by 91, I think, is my first South by. It had to be 91. And I remember seeing Driving and Crying at Liberty Lunch. That was a big thing. And I remember, sort of moving around that South by, and which already felt enormous, which obviously, in retrospect, was a quaint early South by.
Yeah.
Year 3 or 4 or whatever. It'll look a lot like this one's going to look.
No, yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's interesting that you say that. Wow,
full
quaint.
circle.
Yeah, quaint. Quaint is like the perfect word. So, Andy, you writing and then being in radio, what have you, you were probably getting. I'm sure. For me, there was a time when record. All the record labels would send me product, right? They would send me records for me to play. That was service, service, being on mailing lists, whether it was, the coveted labels or what have you, with all the, just all the big artists, or at least the hip hop artists that, that I was into, it was like Tommy Boy, Interscope, BMG, just all that kind of stuff, Loud Records, what have you. So I'm sure you were being sent product all the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I knew the mailman by name.
Yeah.
B, and this is crazy, but also sort of, this was a small town. You could just write Andy Langer, Austin, Texas, and they deliver it. And some of the labels would, they'd have the wrong address or whatever on it, and it would just get crossed off, and they'd know where to deliver it. Because I was getting the volume of mail where you were somebody they knew at the post office.
Yeah.
So I would get sometimes as many as 2 or 3 of those white crates, the postal crates.
Wow, really?
A day of just promo records.
So I'm sure you
promo CDs. Yeah.
I mean, you're, from what I gather, cassettes, sports cards, you collect stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you probably have some amazing promo items from bands and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, I have, held on to there's probably 20 or 30,000 CDs that I still have. waiting for the CD comeback so that I can sell them.
Oh, it's coming back already. I mean, it's already coming back.
Yeah. You know, a fair amount of vinyl. I never collected vinyl, but there was, you know, vinyl that would show up. And yeah, everything, you know, from, I don't know, little desk ornaments to Daft Punk full masks. Like there was a time probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago where there was basically an arms race between the labels to create the craziest promo items because it was the only way to get attention when they were releasing so much music. And it was, again, sort of pre-internet, whatnot. And so, yeah, I luckily never collected that kind of stuff the way I collected it, as in I took it, but I didn't go out and sort of buy and search and
Sure.
if that makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
it makes total sense. I can only imagine what you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some crazy foam thing or from some
Right.
band or whatever, or
The
just
thing
the
that I've
like
been
t-shirts
doing-
and stuff like that.
The thing I've been doing lately that's been fun is, you know, because I've kept everything. I'll come across something at some, you know, one day that is a Reckless Kelly cassette or a David cassette or Retarded Elf or Dangerous Toys or whatever, these demos, early cassettes, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll just call David and be like, dude, do you have these? Because I have these. And if you want them, they're yours, you know? And a lot of musicians haven't, you know, out of necessity, they sold it all. You know, if there was a box of CDs, they sold every last one. They didn't put one aside for themselves. So in a lot of cases, I'm providing what are now friends with, you know, with their stuff back that they had gifted me back in the day, which now means more to them because they don't have that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that's been a fun sort of side benefit of keeping everything the way I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Dangerous Toys. I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but like for like just a sliver of time, I felt this is me. I don't know shit. Okay, but for a sliver, for a moment, I was thinking, okay, man, this is kind of like a threat to GNR. Look at this band from Austin, Texas. I mean, what's the lead singer's name again?
Jason McMaster.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, I was like, holy crap. You know what I mean? Like, dude, they're killing it. That one video I saw, like when I was a kid, I'm like, they are killing it. I'm like, okay, could they like, can they knock off GNR off the throne? Will they throw GNR off the throne? You know what I mean? I was thinking that. But anyways, real quick.
Also one of the first acts to be signed at South by Southwest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that I did not know.
At the back room on like a, you know, basically an off night, the right guy came to the right showcase. And, you know, and at the time, Jason was in Watchtower still.
Yes.
So this was sort of his fun side gig. And the fun side gig lands a deal with Columbia Records out of South by Southwest.
So, many years, you know, just working, you know, production when I was still at C3 and still to this day, work production. Was dealing with Soundcheck Austin, which is a big backline vendor here in Austin, Texas. And the manager of Soundcheck Austin is Mark Geary.
Oh, there you go.
The
Dangerous
drummer.
Toys. Yeah.
Yep. And I did not know that for the longest time. I just never, and then he told me, he's like, hey, you know, I used to be in this band, or I'm in this band called Dangerous Toys. I'm like, what? I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. And then I immediately went home and watched all the videos, and there he is.
I remember I was living in this tiny apartment across from the Antons on Guadalupe. I was living at 3000 Guadalupe, so it was right at 30th and Guadalupe. And I was getting my cable installed. I had just moved in, but I was on the phone with my editor from Guitar World. And, you know, and I was some 22-year-old schmuck that he, you know, was paying nothing to write about, you know, metal and whatnot. And the guy who is installing my cable at one point when I think I was waiting for Brad to come back on the phone or something, says, "Oh, you're Andy Langer. I've read your stuff in the Chronicle, blah, blah, blah." And, long story short, he says, "Well, my name's Chris Gates." And Gates was in Big Boys, and then Junkyard. And my editor, just freaked out that I was in a room with Chris Gates, who was installing my cable.
Oh my God. Day job.
Working for Time Warner on his day job. Yeah. And I don't think I recognized how special that was until years later. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still think this town I still think it's small, even though we have a lot of people here now, but I still think it's small. And it's, things like that, even though that happened many, many years ago, I still kind of encounter things like that from time to time, But yeah, Dangerous Toys and Mark Geary. Yeah. What a small world. So as far as music journalism right now, as far as the Statesman and the Austin Chronicle and what have you, are you still writing for them?
No, I mean I write for Texas Monthly occasionally.
Okay,
still.
okay. So, with that said, and it's very, I don't know, it's the landscape has changed now
dramatically.
Right? So. I mean, how does that affect you, and how do you see it? I just find it very interesting because, and I'm not taking anything away from the Austin Chronicle, but when I worked at Waterloo, I worked here from 1996 to 2009, and so my daily my tradition every Thursday was after I got my iced coffee, I grabbed a Chronicle. And I read it from beginning to end in the break room here at the record store. I don't know.
Well,
it's not something that I do now.
Correct. What I mean? And, there was a time in this town where you would go and try to find, if you cared about this stuff, which was everyone, you would try to find the coffee shop that was first on the route, that was going to have the Chronicle first.
Right.
So that you were for those 15 minutes on that Thursday morning, you were the most knowledgeable person you could be, because, again, pre-internet. So, Dancing About Architecture, Ken Leake's column, that was, whatever was in that was what you knew about music that week. And whatever were in the listings were what you were going to go to that week. Yeah. It wholly, single-handedly set the agenda. And a review meant something, a feature meant something. Those were potentially, on a micro level, because this was still a small town, those were game-changing things to see your name in print.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In the Chronicle.
Yep.
And the Statesman would launch Excellent, which was their version of the Chronicle. I
remember that,
and you had
very well
Margaret on our team and Corcoran over there, and blah blah blah, and and it was at the end of the day that the Chronicle was essential on Thursdays, and obviously,
shout out to John Kuntz in the building.
Obviously, that's not the way it currently is. Not. And that's not necessarily the fault of the Chronicle. It's that, Craigslist and the internet took away the profitable piece of the Chronicle, the classified advertising. And, at the end of the day, there's just so many more ways to find information, to consume information. People are so distracted by 50 other things. They have all of music at their fingertips on the Spotifys and the iTunes and the whatnot. They have all of, the Netflix, the Prime, the whatever. It's not a supportable, alternative weeklies are not in themselves without some kind of benefactor.
Right.
That's not a viable business anymore.
Yeah.
And frankly, the Chronicle is still around
Yeah.
because Nick had a third of South by Southwest because he could offset the losses at the Chronicle with the money from South by Southwest. That is not the case now. So I always sort of fear and dread the inevitable day that we lose the Chronicle.
Yeah, well, God forbid.
But it's going to happen at some point. One of the things that's interesting with working around young people at the university is the way they consume media.
I know.
And they not only don't read the Chronicle or the Statesman, but they barely look at email. They barely look at, anything behind a paywall is a dead stop for them right there.
Yeah.
It's, and ultimately one of the avenues that was a reliable way for artists to find an audience just doesn't exist in this town in the way that it once did.
No, I totally agree. From what I see, and like I said, I don't know shit about anything, but from, just the coverage of local music here in this town, it's just it's just a very, I don't know how to word it, but it just glossy, kind of just hand-picked, kind of not really an ear to the ground type thing. You know what I mean? It's very like, okay, it's just maybe something fashionable or super cool right now, but not anything like, you would see in the Chronicle back in the day. I don't get that ear to the ground type, vibe or coverage from, local like outlets that you see online. I don't see that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm not online like that as much or whatever, but it's just different. It's just, just kind of like this.
There's all kinds of arguments here. I mean, there's one that suggests that the way media used to be, we were, quote, gatekeepers, and that now especially with everything ever recorded available at your fingertips, you don't need gatekeepers. You just need friends to trade playlists with, or to, or somebody mentions a band, you can immediately log on, decide whether you like that in 30 seconds or not.
That's true.
And there's all kinds of sort of more fundamental reasons that media isn't what media was. But in terms of music, the other big sea change difference is that you paid $17 for a CD, you were going to play it all the way through, and then you were going to play it all the way through again, even if you didn't like it, and then you'd grow to like one or two songs, and then, there was the ability or the I guess need to sort of see your investment back by actually listening to the thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now, everything's a mile wide and an inch deep, and so nobody feels those connections to anybody anymore because you're not spending the time with the music the way you used to. And that's the trickle down that makes it harder to sell tickets. Oh, wait, they're not selling tickets, but they also aren't getting any press because there is no press. So one of the ways that you could develop a story was press, and that's no longer there. And now your average reader, your average set of eyes, isn't as interested in reading about music in the depth and sort of way that it used to be written because they don't feel that connection to the artist in the first place. So there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And obviously the people that you guys surround yourself with are way more into this shit than the average person.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it. You know what I mean? Yeah, because a lot of
Well, there's like a trend right now because the person writing what the trends are much younger than us, and it's a new discovery. But they're like, we're going to try to establish a listening room in our house. there is hardware and cables and nothing is digital, and you just sit on a really nice couch you bought for yourself and you listen to music.
Yeah, it's just,
I'm like, what?
yeah, it's like
This
it's
is
kind of
music to my ears, but also we're not a stranger to that. But it's
Right.
nice to see maybe the pendulum might be swinging a little bit into analog, where they do take time out of their day just to listen.
No, and apparently dumb phones are popular right now too.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
I've been kind of seeing this kind of algorithm kind of movement where people are buying music, and they're not, they're buying music, or, there's this one guy I follow online and he is buying cassettes. And he doesn't want, and it's not based on what he sees online. He's just like, I'm going to the store and I see this batch of 20 cassettes for $5 and I'm going to buy I'm going to buy this batch and I'm going to listen to them at home and not have the internet or Spotify or whatever dictate what I listen to, or folks that are now kind of digging up their old iPods and seeing if it still charges or whatever, and listening to like the music that that's on the iPod, and not, I don't know. I find that all interesting. Younger folks, they're buying, like you were saying, you have a ton of CDs. That CD resurgence is coming back. I mean, no doubt. And I think, yeah,
from your mouth to my wallet, hopefully.
yeah.
Ready to part with that stuff.
You're not going to will it to a library.
Yeah. I mean,
Museum.
I don't get rid of anything. I have, like, just from working here and DJing and what have you, I have a ton of CDs. I mean, I didn't get rid of any of them, which is wild, but
I'm going to play that piece back for my wife. Be like, there's another guy. He's got a lot of CDs.
Yeah.
I do.
They
It's
take up
CD
space
book.
at his place too.
yeah, and it takes up a lot of space in the back of my head, knowing that like, dude, you got to get rid of these.
Well, no, you should will it to a museum when you pass away.
No, I don't know about that, but
Section 3.
You know, I alluded to it earlier, and now it's just funny to me that it existed and that the kids will never know what it is, but the secret tracks on CDs,
yes,
where you had to hit two buttons at the same time
Oh my
to get it to go past the last track. There'd either be a few seconds of dead space, or you literally had to access it from a secret menu.
yeah.
But that whole phenomena,
Yeah.
they're never going to know.
Like Mario Brothers, like, how do you get the coin?
Yeah, that's. I almost forgot about that. Where there's like 2 minutes of dead air, and then there's this track.
And there was also later on an ability to front load a secret track.
Oh.
So it would be you'd rewind before the first song,
Right.
and there'd be a track on the front of the CD.
Wow.
There was just all sorts of fun shit with
You
CDs.
had to work
Remember
for
the
it, yeah.
CDs that were like 3 inches,
Yeah.
tiny?
Yep.
I mean, you could still load them up on a CD player, but it's just
Yeah.
like little fun things like that.
Hold,
You know,
different
just-
textures and shapes.
Yeah, just the
Yeah.
fun size 3-inch CD or whatever. I miss that stuff.
But y'all have never mentioned so far 8-tracks or 8-tracks, right? Like that is something that is just too cumbersome to
I
get into. Is that
there-
just like prehistoric to the max?
I don't think people really fuck with that too much. I mean, I don't know. I there's this one guy.
They were slightly ahead of my time.
Yeah.
So,
They-
I mean, I had some
Yeah.
of my parents,
Right.
but I wasn't buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever bought any.
Yeah, same. Like I did buy a Michael Jackson off the wall 8-track, like at the citywide garage sale once. I'm like, man, look at this. This is cool. So that's the only time I ever bought
Cool.
one. But there's a guy that I follow online where he'll show off like this 8-track that he's playing, but it's of like not necessarily current artists, but like Depeche Mode, Violator. You know, like I guess he'll I don't know how he'll record it or whatever onto the 8-track, right? And then he'll just design the cover or the sticker that goes on the 8-track. And you like when you click on and you see it on your feed, you're like, did they really make Violator on 8-track?
Well,
I will
who
say in
knows?
my early days of radio, everything was on cart.
I do remember
And
carts.
Carts were 8 tracks essentially.
Okay.
So they had ads,
Plastic,
right?
and that's how
Yeah.
you'd trigger the ads, and you'd have to load them into these cart
Yeah.
machines.
Yeah.
And the other thing at the time was you would play your CD. I remember very vividly being on a Texas Music Association or whatever panel in the early 90s, 95, 96, somewhere in there. And I remember telling artists as advice that the best thing they could do for themselves was spend the $100 to burn a CD. And that if they could provide their song on CD, the radio stations were much more likely to play it. But at the time, it was $100 to burn a CD, and you had to take it to some guy who had the CD burner.
Okay.
A year later,
Wow.
you could burn CDs in
Yep.
every tower computer.
Yeah,
at
it
your
wasn't
house.
cost prohibitive at all.
Yeah, it wasn't but there was a moment in that transition
Yeah.
from cassette to CD where being able to, burn an individual CD was $100. And I used to recommend they do that because it made it more likely you were going to play it. But yeah, but you would also have to file your own CDs
Yeah.
after your shift.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you would have to file you pulled your own CDs, left the stack, and the next guy would refile them.
Oh,
And so
okay.
for years, I would be filing Jody's CDs or whatever.
Oh,
and then,
wow.
Yeah. And then I insisted, because Jody Denberg knew where, and we had enormous walls full of CDs at KGSR. Jody knew where anything he wanted was, just walk over and grab it.
Right.
And I would look at these walls and be like, I don't know where A begins and B begins
Yeah.
and whatever. And I ended up coming to Waterloo, and they were selling what are essentially the little plastic dividers.
Little divider cards, yeah.
The little
Yeah,
divider
yes.
cards.
Yeah.
And it was the only place to buy them. And they were like $30
Oh.
for the set. And I bought them because it was going to save me so
Hell
much
yeah.
time refiling CDs at the studio, and there was no way to expense them. Like, it wasn't like the radio station was going to pay for it. And I was like, that's a good investment
That is a
for
very
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're still there, those cards I bought.
Wow.
So speaking of KGSR, when we were at the store, and even up to because you left you worked from 2000 to when?
2004.
So from 96 to like 09 for me, KGSR broadcast CDs during Christmas was a big deal.
A very big deal.
Like a really big deal. I mean,
It would sell out here.
yeah. I mean, that I remember John Coons, he was like, okay, this, I mean, it was important to him.
Well,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
And we raised $3 million over the years for Sims, because that money went directly to Sims.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
couple of things here. The most important thing is that, not only did we raise a bunch of money for Sims with those CDs, but they were all exclusive live performances direct
That's right.
from our air. And the thing is in those days, and more so later on, having musicians perform live on the radio was a tune-out. I mean, we loved it, but it wasn't the way to kill it in the ratings.
Oh.
And so, this town has always had different radio because, well, mostly Jody, normalized saying, screw the ratings, we're going to do live music on the radio. And so just the amount of performances you would have to host on the radio to wind up with a 2 CD set at the end of the year with usable performances, right there you're talking, 60, 70 live performances a year on the radio.
Yeah.
B, we had a woman who cleared these charity CDs through the rights and clearances process for 4 or 5 stations across the country. and paid her an enormous amount of money every year to do all that paperwork.
That's a lot. It's a lot of work.
But that was really the heaviest lift, was all the paperwork that was involved in being able to do these charity CDs. On the other hand, because they were for charity, the artists were willing to give them up because it was KGSR, this station that set the agenda for the rest of the, AAA radio stations. They also were willing to give them up. I produced probably 10 of them once Jody left.
Mm-hmm. God bless you.
Thank you. And yeah, it was an actual only in Austin kind of phenomena that we could burn through as many as 10,000 CDs in a town that was significantly smaller at the time. And, they'd be sent all over the country. There is a cool hidden track on at least 3 of them. These were all Jody's doing. It's Lyle reading the emergency broadcast test. There's one of Lyle, there's one of Laurie Anderson, and God, there's a really cool third one that's escaping. It's not Tom Waits or Leonard Cohen, but it's somebody very similar with a distinct voice like that. Anyway, they're bonus tracks.
Oh,
uncredited on they're not mentioned on the thing at all, but they're there.
Wow.
So it's like located at the tail end of the CD.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I do recall
Lou Reed.
Oh, Lou Reed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Working at the store all those years during Christmas, we'd moved a ton of them. We just moved tons of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a big deal.
And people wanted them. I mean, they were gone very quick.
I just remember people just buying stacks of it.
Yeah.
During Christmas time. I mean, Christmas, if you work retail, especially around that time before, just online shopping, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you physically had to go to the store. I mean, you had to take yourself to the store. Dude, the store would be crowded during Christmas time. I mean, just like elbow to elbow. And
luckily, there were no in-stores around that time, so they were able to store our giant boxes of CDs on the stage. That's where
That's true.
That's where the stash of broadcast CDs were. Yeah.
Such a big deal.
Rest in peace, KGSR broadcasts.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. So so did you act so you're married, right? Correct?
Correct.
Yes. So did you have a wedding?
Hopefully when this airs, I still am.
Yeah, right. So did you have an actual wedding?
I did have a wedding.
Okay. So this is a question that we're starting to ask people that, folks that are married, if you're even okay with sharing. Did you have a band play or did you have a DJ play? And if it was either or, what was the first dance song?
First song.
So, okay.
And he's got limited time. He's got to go. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. We got about 5 minutes.
So we had a friend perform with a cello player, a Van Morrison song as my wife walked down the aisle.
Okay.
So that was the only music at the actual ceremony.
Yeah.
We did do a first dance, and I went to dance lessons. I'd never taken a dance lesson, not a dancer. Go to dance lessons, and that's where we learned That's How Strong My Love Is, the Otis Redding song, which is the first part of our first dance. And then, and I have a long friendship and association with Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top.
Uh-huh.
We asked Billy one night to teach us a dance that we could use for Gimme All Your Lovin'. And so I have this amazing video where he's showing us this dance, and it's basically
arm movements.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we built a whole dance to Gimme All Your Loving, and so we segued from the Otis Redding tune into Gimme All Your Lovin'.
That is super cool.
And and there's one video of it where you can hear my father, the videographer must have been standing near my father, And he's like, he looks like he's going to get hurt. So those were our first dances.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's very cool. And to receive direction from Billy Gibbons.
Yeah.
There you go.
The video is great.
Very cool. Andy, let everyone know where they can find you online.
Just your normal
Just plug it in.
Facebook, Twitter's. I'm still there, which I hate. I don't actually post that much. Instagram. The normal spots for social media.
Andy Langer, you're the best. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
being
guys.
generous with your time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on the Sound of First podcast. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Andy.